to the Screen Time Continuum. It's a wonderful Monday. My name is Keelan, and I am here with Nick and Mike. What's going on, Nick? How you feeling today?
Hey man, happy Monday. I'm well, how are you?
Happy Monday. I can't complain. I am trying not to look at the moon too intently, mostly because I guess it's overcast outside. I don't really understand our weather lately, but the daytime is doing really well, so I'm doing good. I can't complain. What's going on, Mike? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, feeling fine.
Hey, always good to hear. It's good to hear. So yeah, we're gonna go on ahead and jump right on in. I don't think we have any precursor things to talk about. Sometimes we just want to pick up some banter, or at least I want to just banter at the beginning of shows. But let's go ahead and jump on into it. Then we can banter as we get through it. Today's episode is a review of a movie entitled Blood. The movie Blood is currently showing on Hulu. It is a vertical films distribution. It is directed by not Brand, but Brad Anderson in a Hercules film production. It is starring, oh, wait, let me get that right there for you. It's starring Michelle Monaghan, Skeet Ulrich, Finley Washtak, his song, Skylar Morgan Jones, Jumbi Wild, and Journey Stewart, just to name a few of the top characters. I think there's only going to be about 14 characters roughly through this entire movie. And I feel like we've been catching a lot of those movies that don't have large casts. This movie is not rated. This movie is not rated. So I'm assuming it just went straight to streaming. But when I did that assumption right then and there with you guys, I am already wrong because it has a box office of $250,000. So it was in somebody's
hmm
theater and
hmm
a few people went to see it. It's not a bad thing.
I
The
remember
plot
seeing the
on this
previews.
movie, say it again.
I remember seeing the previews.
I, I vaguely remember the previews to this, thinking about a couple of other movies that I probably saw previews to as well. But we'll
hmm
jump into that because if these are the same, if it's the same previews I remember, Mike, they've been having previews for this for about 5 years,
Oh,
maybe
really?
four. Yeah, I remember previews for this a while ago. If it's the same movie that we're both thinking of, and I think it is. But really quick, let's get to the plot on this. The plot from this movie on Google says when a bite from the family dog gives her son a horrific infection, a woman's morals get put to the test when the only cure to keep him alive proves deadly. I actually like that plot or that reading. Sometimes they don't make sense. Sometimes they really don't add up. But yeah, that's the current plot overview for the movie Blood on Google. On Hulu, it states Jess moves her two children back to her childhood home where their lives quickly deteriorate into terror after the family dog bites her son, giving him a horrific infection. Excuse me. Jess's morals are tested when the only cure to cure her son and keep him alive proves deadly. So it's pretty synonymous. Um, let's go ahead and jump into what we think. First impressions. Let's start with Mike. Hey, Mike, what did you think of this movie initially?
um, I I didn't hate it. I didn't like it, but I found it to be somewhat entertaining.
Get a little
Um,
bit closer to your microphone.
uh,
Just a
sorry.
little bit. You're good. It was good.
How's
It's
that?
almost there. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Sorry,
I
I'm
didn't.
I'm the audio Nazi here. Sorry.
No, no worries, no worries. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it. I thought it was a bit entertaining. I thought it was funny that we had vampire dogs. That was my take on that. Vampire dog or super rabies or whatever joke you can insert right there.
Hey. Well, it was
I
deemed
thought
as non-rabies at some point, so yeah.
right. I thought both of the parents were awful. Uh, yeah, yeah. I didn't hate it or anything like that. It was entertaining for a moment.
Yeah,
That's my
fair,
that's my honest opinion.
fair enough. What about you, Nick? How did you feel about this movie?
Well, first of all, Skeet.
Skeet.
His name is Skeet.
His name is Skeet.
Just gotta say it.
Oh, ski, 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 ski.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie was kind of crappy. I don't know. There's a good idea here somewhere, but I found it really tedious. Once you kind of figure out the mechanisms of how the story is going to work, you look at your watch and there's still an hour and 20 minutes left, and you think to yourself, how in the hell are we going to get that much? How are we going to get this much out of so little of an idea? There's an interesting take on like the vampire thrall sort of servant familiar thing going on here. There is some serious depravity, but I don't think that it leaves the morality as ambiguous as it should be given the subject material. I do feel like there are decisions made by the main character that make her seem like a saint when she's not. And I don't think that the movie does a good enough job about balancing those two perspectives of that moral dilemma that she's in. I think that it's very much like, do anything for my babies. And, that's the right thing to do. In fact, she's told at the end of this that she did the right thing. So I think that the story was kind of undercooked. There could have been more elements to it, and for a vampire film, the vampire isn't revealed until the last 5 minutes of the movie, which is tedious again. So if I could sum it up in one word, I think it's tedious. I knew where it was going about 20 minutes in at the most, and then I looked at my watch and said, oh boy, how are they going to make this stretch? So somebody's playing Xbox. I caught you. What are you doing? You're supposed to be doing a podcast. Busted. All right. But yeah, that's my first impression.
Snap. That was too funny. I actually agree with both of you. And then I don't agree with both of you. I don't know where I don't agree. I'll get to that. I'll figure it out.
Make it up as you go. It's cool.
Yeah, I'll make it up as I go.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. No, overall, yeah, I didn't hate this movie, but there are some hot points. So for me, this movie is kind of like the back and forth balance of you're initially told about a terrible parent, and then you basically see that both parents are terrible, and you have all of the things you've been told to make somebody a bad person be used as the reason for them to now be a good person. That confused me quite a bit. But I understood it. I understood the angle. I understood why you would go that way. Haven't seen it done to the point at which I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. But that's pretty much where my understanding stops. As far as the vampiric side of everything, that was actually all right. I didn't really have too many gripes about it. Wasn't well fleshed out. Could have been done more. I would have liked more vampirism throughout this story. And mostly because, as Nick alluded to, the whole servant type or ghoul type of a deal. I picked that up, right? But they didn't make it go deeper. They kind of turned it into I guess a hostile type of a flick for a minute. We kind of jumped genres a few times, in my opinion. We went from this concerning drama to a gore film or a slasher film that doesn't have any gore. And at that point I was pretty much running in a circle. And once again, for the second time straight, we found another film that runs so much longer than it says. Like, this time I actually watched my real life time while I was watching this movie. No, this was not what was it, an hour and 50 minutes? Nah, hour 48. No, I was watching this thing for about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, something happens in these movies. There's like a weird time dilation where the more boring a movie is, the longer it feels like it is. This movie is more of like a family court drama than anything else.
I agree.
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of a bait and switch too, because I want to see vampires, not a junkie mom trying to keep custody of her children.
and a hothead. Let's say that at the top of this, you have a junkie mom and a hothead dad who thinks he's right because he didn't shove a needle in his arm. Hold on,
Right.
Mhm.
like both of you
Not
are
that he,
wrong.
not that he didn't admit to being an enabler.
Right, right, because that's what I was trying to figure out, and I know we haven't even. We're kind of jumping the gun a little, but not really. Because
No,
it
that's kind of
happened.
at the beginning.
Yeah, I might say we get to the whole divorce pretty early, but I just want to. I have to mention that I thought it was very interesting of him to try to use her prior addiction when it's like you were using that. Clearly, you were trying to leave this lady for quite some time because you were allowing her to do all of these things. Then all of a sudden, one day, it's like, oh, I want to sleep with the nanny instead, so my wife ain't shit. Excuse me?
Right.
He was probably doing that the whole time.
I'm
Right.
sure he was, and I think that she even kind of alluded to that. But it was like, I think that's what I thought was interesting when she alluded to what the time frame could have possibly been. It's like, okay, yeah, I was going through what I was going through, and I knew you were sleeping with the nanny, and you still want to leave me and do. But okay, cool.
I don't
I-
understand that.
Doesn't make her
young-
okay.
I don't understand that young nanny thing. Why isn't it like, like if you're
She
a
wasn't
wife?
that much younger.
I mean, she was young though. Like
She looked like
in-
she was probably like 19 in comparison to the mom being in her 40s.
Yeah, and if you're a wife,
Okay, maybe.
aren't you like, no, we're gonna get one of those Mrs. Doubtfire nannies, not
Man.
Right.
not like a Hollywood au pair. You know?
Her face gonna stand out lower than her breasts.
Yeah. Like, why would you subject yourself
For,
to that?
for the movie's
Um,
sake, she had to be
Probably because
young.
she was high and didn't know.
Probably. There you go.
You know what? But and I know we're still talking about it, but hey, that means more so she's in the right, he's in the wrong in that situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the way the
He
movie
hired
was trying to
somebody he
paint
would
it.
sleep with.
Right.
She's
Well,
a
that's
nurse
kind of what the
Jackie.
movie's trying to do, still trying to make her a hero,
Yes.
but at the same time trying to show that she has some kind of faults in her life. But we shouldn't hold that against her because she's struggling to be better.
all of her imperfections were in service to giving her children better lives, so they must be
Right.
forgiven.
Right.
Which I think that's where my commentary about the ambiguous, like not being ambiguous about the morality enough. The movie clearly wants her to be portrayed in a more positive light than she deserves. She doesn't deserve to be in any positive light.
That's
But the
why I
movie
said what I
definitely
said.
wants her to be there. Yeah.
Right.
But because of what she decides to do, we have to see her as a better person, Nick. Don't you know? She'll do.
But she's
anything.
clearly not, though.
She's
I don't know
clearly
who's
a
worse,
great person.
but I know they're both trash.
Wait, stop. No, don't do that, Mike. We know who's worse, and we'll have to explain why later.
No, I mean as a parent. I don't mean because of what she did in the movie exactly, but prior to what the movie,
As a
has you
parent,
go
they're
through.
both terrible.
Yeah. They're both terrible
Thought you meant as a
parents.
person. Thought you meant as a person. Like this movie tells you as a person who's worse off, but as a parent, they're about equal as parents.
Right. She's a junkie. He's an a-hole.
Actually, no, she might
banks the
win
nanny.
as a parent. I don't think he'd be willing to do what she did.
No, because he knows what his kids like to eat. They told him. They told us that. He knows what his kids like to eat. He knows that his son doesn't eat olives on the spaghetti.
What's his
Which is-
favorite
which-
book?
which
What's his
is
favorite
disgusting.
bedtime story? What's her favorite movie? All right, let's jump into the because that had me in a knot too. Like word, like
Got him.
sound like my friend. What you sound like, my friend. But I hear you. I understand the angle you're trying to take, Red Eyes. So the movie Blood starts off. We meet Owen, Tyler, and Jess. Jess is the mother. And they've moved out to the mom's childhood home, which was owned by the auntie after the parents passed away, et cetera, et cetera. The kids don't, well, Tyler doesn't like it. Tyler is also known as Ty because that's the daughter, not the boy. It's a unisex name, Tyler is.
I thought that was odd.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
I've
it's
ever heard it
modern. You know,
Yeah, that's exactly
very,
what I was
very
thinking.
modern. Question, guys: did we just watch this movie?
Feels like it.
I feel like what was the last movie we just watched?
The one in Australia.
Yeah.
It's almost the
last
exact same movie.
film we watched.
You mean that terrible mother with mental health problems?
who
or in
moves
this
out
case,
into the
drug addiction.
wilderness. Who
Yeah,
moves out to a creepy house where all the weird stuff happens. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That just reminded me. So
And rabies is involved again.
except this
Right.
time they tells us it's not rabies.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
As soon as they said not rabies, I was like, oh shit, these movies are tied together.
Damn.
We were so close.
Right. I was like, they just blew that whole argument out the window. I was about to be like, a whole nother week of talking about rabies. Let's go.
Rule number 1 of Screen Time Continuum: it's always rabies.
Always rabies.
Always.
Always rabies. And you know what? This probably would have been our fourth rabies movie, because we've had a few back in the back.
Mhm.
But I do want to say this actually also about the previews. So Mike, you say you remember the previews. I remember previews for this back in like 2018, 2019.
I don't remember it that far back.
I remember for two reasons.
Okay.
I remember because of where I was at the time, and I
Mhm.
remember because I was excited. They had previews for this, previews for that show on Netflix, Saving D or Raising Dion, and there
Ooh.
was something, yeah. And there was something else at the time. The one about the little kid being Superman. If Superman was a little kid that didn't know how to control his powers.
Oh yeah, Brightburn.
Brightburn.
No. That was Superman if he became evil.
Whatever. Brightburn. They started advertising all three of them around the same time. And I want to say that was like 2018, 2019. Because if I remember correctly, Raising Dion came out around 2020. Brightburn came out around 2020, 2021. And this is just now coming out. So this just ended up on the late freight. I want to say
Yeah.
all three of these movies were advertised at the same time, or all 3-4 of those were advertised at the same time.
It's possible that they were supposed to be released during COVID, and then they just
A lot of stuff got delayed.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
stuff did. And I think they might have even changed some things in this movie, because it looks like it was some post editing done, but that's another, we'd have to go beat by beat for that. And I don't think we're going to do that.
Nope.
Also, this movie makes me think about Renfield.
which
What?
is a better
Oh,
better familiar movie.
Yeah. It's like, which I'm starting to think to myself, who wrote what first? Because like Nick said, the familiar movies are really out. Well, he didn't say it, but he kind of alluded to it by mentioning it earlier. The familiar movies are really out there. I haven't seen such an influx like this since Vampire in Brooklyn. This probably is the third or fourth time we've seen some level of a movie where it's like there's some thing or some person catering to a being or a deity in its growth.
Mhm.
Or maybe we could call it cult-esque. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I
Well, at
think
least she didn't get
Renfield.
the dropsies.
True. I think
I mean, she
Renfield
kinda did, but that's another conversation. Sorry.
is a graphic novel, so I think it's been out for a while. I think it's a comic book movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I probably have heard about that for a while as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah.
But this one is not as enjoyable as Renfield, that's for sure. It's actually straight up dour and miserable. It's purposely miserable.
You know what's interesting about the cast, really quick?
Mhm.
Yes, it is purposely miserable. They like want you to live in the darkest place in your mind through this entire movie. The actors that they chose for this, or at least the mom and dad specifically that they chose for this, they're good actors for the direction, which makes me question the source material, because this could have been a lot better. Like a lot better. From the very beginning, there were little things that just rubbed me the wrong way about this movie. You introduce the mom, the daughter, the son. They're out in the field. First, the name of the dog rubbed me the wrong way.
Pippin?
Pippin.
No,
I don't-
Pip.
Pippin. Pip. Shut up.
I kept thinking Scotty.
Me too. And I was thinking somebody's a Chicago Bulls fan.
Right.
But it was the notion from the very beginning they were giving you of this frail, weak little boy. He had a dog named Pip because he's a pipsqueak. And I'm just kind of tying it together, like just being honest. Then you also keep in mind that this is a weak-willed, untrained dog. It's always leading its owner into danger. That's not a good dog.
Well, I think
bad dog.
but I think the movie is saying that the location is haunted because Pippin never had a problem until they got brought to the new house with the
Yes.
haunted tree.
Yeah, they're definitely
because
saying that the lake
the
or the tree
devil
is
tree.
yeah, which you don't
Uh-huh.
kill the devil with fire, but that's another conversation. It was too early.
Also, since when has a tree been the progenitor of vampiric viruses?
Gaia.
Gaia. Those were mushrooms, though.
Ah, you're right. It
Yeah,
was emitting
yeah.
spores. So I
It
guess
was
there
the
was a relation.
spores. Yeah,
I was gonna say Evil Dead, but you said vampire.
true. Yes, Evil Dead. Yes. God, that's astounding. I still am shocked by that scene. My goodness.
Well, don't go in the woods.
And seriously, don't. Or the woods will go in you.
Welcome.
Oh man.
So let's see. Let's jump into it. So Pippin senses something in the distance, in the dark, and that's essentially what we're gonna be fuddling with through this movie. From the very beginning, we get the notion that Tyler doesn't want to be here. She hates her mom for moving her out here, but we don't know why she hates her mom until we find out later that mom and dad are going through a divorce. And then Owen is just a badass little kid who don't listen to nobody. But then when mom comes around, I'm sorry, mom. Come on, like from the very beginning, I was getting the notion that this is a mother who's still trying to figure out how to be a mom. Her kids are already 10 and older, right? But she's still trying to figure out how to be a parent. One. Two, we realize she's still trying to figure out how to be a parent because she's a recovering addict. Which means she doesn't know her kids. At what point are we automatically supposed to be on her side when she don't know her kids?
Yeah, and the kids clearly don't respect her because they saw her strung out on pills
hmm
for years on end. So,
hmm
yeah.
And maybe Tyler feels a way about it, but Owen definitely doesn't respect his mom.
No. Owen's a shithead, though. So,
For sure.
I mean,
But he's only like 8 or 9
he's only
or
8,
whatever
but
he is.
he get it. I mean, they should have just pushed him in the mud pit from jump.
From day one.
Saved us the 2 hours of this.
Should have left him in there
movie.
from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dang.
I mean, Nick's not wrong right now.
Mm-mm.
But overall, we find out that after Owen jumps off the building and he's fine, Jess takes them to their dad, and we find out she's a nurse and she's going through a divorce, and she's really just afraid she's going to lose her children because of the fact that she is a recovering addict. Her ex-husband is using that against her, and every time they have mediation for divorce, he pretty much brings up the fact that she was never there, which I would think is kind of unfair because, as Mike alluded to or said a little earlier, he was an enabler. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't think she started doing dope after she had baby number two. I'm pretty sure, in fact, he was probably doing it with her at some point.
No, she's a Nurse Jackie, dude. She's a pillhead.
Yeah.
So she was stealing
Oh.
from her hospital, just like
But
she
they
stole
never,
from her hospital in this movie.
you know
Right.
what? It's so funny you say that. I was thinking that at first, but the only instance we get of that is when she takes the plasma.
Mm.
And there's never no mention. If there were mention of her taking
She
the
sure
drugs,
had those pills on hand, didn't she? She
right? And
started
so
taking
this is
them again.
what I expected them to do when she came back that one time and her friend was there. I expected there to be some connect the dot situation of when you look at when the plasma disappears, you look at her running, you run through the security check. She was one of the last people to check in, and she has a history of stealing from the hospital. I thought that was going to come up, but it didn't. And because of that, it kind of left, in my opinion, a little bit of gray area as to
Here
you
you
already
go.
paint. Well, it already told us that she wasn't a good person. Why not paint her as this entirely messed up, torn up person? You get what I'm saying?
Stop trying to make these movies better.
I'm
Well,
not.
I
That's the
don't know
problem.
that
Is they had
there's
an opening there and they didn't use it.
no,
Yeah,
of course
I
not.
know, because that made sense. Man, I used to work in hospital, so when I saw that, I was like, they gonna know exactly who took it.
hmm
They should know.
They should
Yeah,
know. And then
should
she
know.
comes back and she doesn't want you to tell the supervisor when she. Come on, son.
Right.
And no nurse. Wait, sorry, I'm too early.
Yeah, these are all giant
Plot holes.
plot holes. Yeah, you have to stretch your disbelief a little bit too far for all of these situations.
Like Pippin running into the lake after. Okay, that's where we are actually.
Mm-hmm.
So Owen and Tyler find a dried out lake with Pippin, and clearly you see a human rib cage in the middle of the mud next to a tree. Tyler's like, let's go, but Pippin runs in there. I'm sorry. this is just me. Maybe I'm insensitive. Maybe I don't know. My dog run into a muddy lake that I really don't know how deep it is. Um, After human remains, I'm gonna be calling Pippin from the shore. I love you, Pippin. I like you guys know me. I really am. I'm not a I don't care type of a person. But we executive decisions.
Yeah, they're kids.
I'll
Plus, the
say
movie
this.
needs to happen. So
Right.
Tyler
I'll
gotta
say
be
this.
stronger
I
than
love my dog. I do. And I'll protect my dog to the best of my ability. But I'm damn sure not running into no rib cage infested mud
twice.
pit. Right.
quicksand,
Quicksand.
Yeah, that's
None of
pretty
that.
much. Yeah.
But then again, my dog is gonna be on a leash if we out in the middle of nowhere like that.
He was on a leash. No, he wasn't on a leash.
And your dog is small enough for you to just grab it by the harness and carry it.
This was
Right.
a big ass golden retriever and kids.
Yeah, no, they have like that 100-pound yellow lab, and they're like 80-pound children. So of course they're not going to be able to handle it.
They both had to be holding on to. But that's what I'm
Fair
saying.
enough.
Unfortunately, you train your oldest and your youngest. Hey, you leave that animal. Why? Because mommy and daddy need you to make it home safely.
Fair
Now we
enough.
gonna hope the animal makes it back home safely too. We gonna be on the shore trying to coax it back out. Just don't go in after it. Like, and I know this is
Well,
harder.
they do.
This is a hard, like, if I'm being honest, if I'm being totally honest, this was probably one of the hardest moments in the movie for me. Because I'm like, stupid ass Pippin. And I was at a crossroads of what do you do? Like, and there's a lot of other instances in this movie where I understood what you should do. In that instance, what do you do? Do you sit there and scream for Pippin? You definitely don't go in after Pippin. Do you like throw Pippin a lifeline and hope he grabs onto the lifesaver or something? Like, I don't know.
I don't know if it really matters because they're out of the mud within a minute. So it's all good.
Factual.
Everybody's fine.
And it's not the mud. I know the mud
Yeah.
didn't do anything, didn't really change anything in this movie at all. In fact, I don't think anything in that tree changed anything in this movie. But just conceptually in that moment, when they get back, that's the only thing mom's mad about. I told you not to go back out there. You don't care about the dog that almost. All right, cool. Because the dog definitely just put your kid in danger. I would think you care more about that. But hey, not hey, how did you go out there? Not why did you go out there? Just I told you not to go back. But either way, they get back, they clean up, dinner's going, and then Pippin runs out again, and he runs beyond the spiked fence. The spiked fence is only significant in this and one more scene later on in the movie.
Literally. It only serves one purpose.
It is important to mention that the reason they're living out in the middle of nowhere before we get to what's going on next, the reason they're living out in the middle of nowhere is because just getting divorced from their father. I think their father's name is Steve. Steve. But the reason that I'm sorry, his name's Patrick. The reason that they're out there is
so memorable.
His name is Skeet, guys.
His real name is Skeet.
Yeah.
My bad.
Ski.
I'm like, he's been in other things, isn't he? Isn't he in like The Craft or something?
Oh yeah, he's very
Who cares?
Doing a lot of stuff.
I had to look at his face, and yeah, The Craft and Scream. Those are two of the main things I remember him from. He probably has like 4 other things on his billing. I don't think it's been a lot of stuff. Anyway, what was I talking about with the dad?
The movie. We're talking about the movie.
Yeah. But specifically, I was mentioning the dad and the argument with the mother.
The dog runs out at night and then gets lost. And,
that's where I was. I was really lost on where I was. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
So the dog runs out, comes back, and he jumps into. What I was gonna say before I got into that was their house. The reason that they're living in the middle of nowhere in the house that mom grew up in, or in auntie's house, is because dad's parents bought the house. So Jess's in-laws bought their marriage home, so he got to keep the marriage home and the nanny. And that's where she drops her kids off when they go to visit their daddy.
Question: what state do they live in?
Well,
that was one of the most unbelievable things about this movie.
Did they ever mention it?
I think it was
No.
Ohio, wasn't it?
I don't know. All I know
Oh.
is that it doesn't matter who bought the house.
That's
No.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that was. I felt like that was needless to even bring up. Like, oh, his parents bought the house, or you just decided to give it to him in the divorce. What does it matter?
Yeah.
Um, but so the dog returns after she's all angry because Owen went out by himself and Jess didn't. I mean, excuse me, Tyler didn't stop him, and she should have been grounded. Which again, bad parenting move. You're mad at your one kid for not beating the dog shit out of your other kid, or for not also putting themselves in like they're
The one
children.
kid that you repeatedly tell that you don't like as much as the other one.
Man,
She said that at
Oh,
least like twice in the movie, 3 times.
yeah, 2 or 3 times, and it's supposed to be a funny joke or a quip, but I think that is one of those nods to hey, bad parenting mode. Why? It's really simple. You don't do that. You're literally just tearing this kid down every chance you get.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, why don't I get anything done my way, or why doesn't anything ever go? Well, I like him better. Yeah, that's only funny until you realize like you have a reason.
But you're still doing it. Yeah, it
Because-
would be one thing if you weren't doing anything differential, but you're
Mhm.
you're being preferential. I mean, yeah, but you're being preferential. So
1,000%. Now, of course, a little bit later we have a reason, but the reason still doesn't overshadow that they're both your kids. What's the dog's name? Spike? Pippin. Pip. Hooray! Pip returns and he has the look in his eye. You got the look in your eye, OG. And
Stupid.
Pippin returns and he goes for the kill, takes a bite out of Owen, bites onto his leg, they tussle, bites on Owen's neck, because if he didn't bite his neck, then this rest of the movie wouldn't have made any sense. If he had just bit his leg, it wouldn't have made sense. I think it would have made sense if he had just bit his leg, but he ends up biting his neck anyway. And Jess gets the feeding dish and beats Pippin off with the feeding dish because that's a strong ass feeding dish.
Right.
beats him over the head.
Yeah, hits him over the head with the feeding dish. I mean, yeah, I'm not even, no way to clean that up. Pause. Dang.
Smashes his face in with the feeding dish.
Oh, crap. Excuse me. Owen's almost dead, but he eventually awakens after they try to keep him alive and resuscitate him in the hospital. He eventually awakens and has a thirst for blood.
And at this moment, I said, "Oh hell, here we go."
It was the moment for me. I'm gonna tell you when I was honestly over this movie already because I just was like, "Oh, that's what we're doing. Like that's how we're doing it." It wasn't when he got the blood pack down. It was actually before that. It was when the damn dog bit him on the neck.
Mm-hmm.
When the dog bit him on the neck, I was like, they're gonna be so damn cheesy about this. And the whole thing, in my opinion, was just cheese upon cheese. Hey, I want to be different. You're not being different.
No, it's kind of like a Cujo meets Dracula somehow.
Spot on.
Where for some reason a dog has a virus that science can't detect.
Wasn't that one rabies though?
Nah.
I mean, they say it's not rabies, but I believe it could still be rabies.
Hey, I'm down to say super rabies if you want to go there.
Let's do that.
Yeah, they said it was
super rabies. It is.
It makes more sense than a haunted tree that gives you the vampiric germ for no fucking reason.
Right. There's no context to an evil tree.
No.
Look, the
it
tree
just has a center.
Using from it, it didn't make no sounds. Nothing.
It was just sitting there.
It had a hole in the middle.
Yes, a hollow.
And it had a right, and it had a dark patch around, or a dark ring around it, where all the life and vegetation died around it.
And you also see that at some point,
because it was a lake,
blooming and thriving at some point. So what happened to it? Why didn't we get a background on what happened to the damn tree?
The lake dried up, and then the tree dried up. I guess
a lot of things dry up, but never mind.
You're on a roll tonight, man.
I am. I know.
All right. Well, yeah, it makes no sense. I as soon as he started drinking the blood, I was like, I don't want to watch the rest of this. I know how it's gonna. I know how it's gonna go. I know how it's gonna go. He's gonna need more blood because for some reason it's never enough. I mean, if you're gonna be like lore heavy with the vampire stuff, why did like they chose all the worst stuff? I guess
Yeah.
that's effective if you want to make it seem like a curse more than anything, which that's fine because it's definitely a curse in this movie, and it's something that you just don't even want to deal with because that kid is drinking a pint of blood every couple hours.
Every couple hours. And how about this? If she's gonna turn into this, because mom turns into this murderous, blood stealing parent, right? Because that's what they want us to see, right? So
Well,
at the end of the day, so wait.
technically,
Mhm.
she didn't kill anybody.
She killed a bunch of animals.
That
She
ain't
killed a lot
people
of
though.
bunnies.
I didn't say she killed people. I said she became a murderer.
Yeah, you can't murder bunnies.
You could just kill them.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Like, is this a terminology discussion we're having here? Like,
It's murder to their relatives, though. So,
yeah, go tell Bugs that it's not murder.
mhm.
Bugs Bunny or Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. Anyway, what I'm saying is, she had the access from the very beginning. Why did she only take 1 or 2 packs? Or no? Well, no, never mind.
No, she
It
took a
did
bunch.
like 3 or 4.
Yeah, she took like 4, but those were done within a day, and I'm just like, oh, this is unsustainable. You can't do this.
No,
Right.
not at all. And so what I expected to happen from that initial when he finds the stash, because at this point he's basically converted. She's bloodletting. She's slow turning him at this point. And it's not until he gets that hot fresh thing, pause, that that the full conversion, wow, happens.
So many entendre going on.
Right.
Double, triple, quad.
Yeah, so is that what it is? Because he wasn't drinking fresh blood from the tap, he had no
Oh
powers.
yeah, Interview with the Vampire all over again. It was
I
like
am
he
gonna
learned
call
from Rat.
Boo Boo on that.
I'm kind of
yeah,
I'm kind
I'm
of
calling
calling
Interview
Boo Boo
with the
on
Vampire.
that too, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where they got it from. Interview with the Vampire. He started with rats.
You
That's
gave
the
me
only
dead
difference.
blood. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what all of that cold blood would have been
That's
to
true.
a vampire.
Which
Mhm.
essentially
So-
would have actually killed him before he became.
Which would have just ended the movie, and we would have been all happy.
Is
He
that-
would
it
have
was
drank
supposed
that
to just
packet of
make him more
blood
sick.
like a Capri Sun and just foamed at the mouth until he was dead.
Ki- Like when he ate the pancake.
Yes.
Yep. The pancake should have sent him into anaphylactic shock.
Well, it kind of
According
did.
to all the other. Oh, you're right.
It did. He started foaming at the mouth and bleeding out the mouth, and then they
You're
had
right,
to, I don't know, pump him or something like that.
Yeah,
So-
throw him on IV. That helps. A little
Yeah.
saline in the blood.
Yeah,
Well, I
this
think that's what actually fixed him up because they put him on an IV and they put the blood circulation into
Well, when they
his
put the
veins.
blood on him, yeah. But initially, before you get that, they got to put him on IV. They got to put him on a ventilator. He'd be freaking dead.
one could only hope.
So how long does it take to get the blood? And then this is a vampire. Don't they absorb their nutrition through their mouth? So you can't just put them on a V. You can't just into the vein like heroin.
You know, that's
The veins are
that's
dead.
that's up for debate depending on the vampire universe you're in.
I would assume that their veins don't even take blood because they're
Well,
not- there's no heart to pump.
I hate
am-
to say it.
Hmm.
I hate to say it. But if you're talking vampires, that would include Twilight, and Twilight had a whole thing where when they firstly turn, their human blood was still in their system, so that's when they're at their strongest.
No Twilight.
Here,
Okay.
here's
No,
how I,
Sparkle
you know what?
Pyre's out.
Here, I'm about to say this is usually how I take Twilight out of every vampire argument. What other vampire sparkles and glitters? Well, now that conversation's over.
In the sunshine. In the sunshine.
the ones that are based off of dirty movies.
Yeah,
and I
pretty
can
much.
only name one other lore of vampires that survive in the daylight, and they have to bathe in virgin blood. That's a whole nother conversation.
Or True Blood, you drink fairy blood.
Oh yeah. My bad.
Or
Oh
Blade.
wow, I forgot about True Blood. No,
Mhm.
it's only one in Blade that don't count.
Yeah, Blade's
Why Blade don't count?
because he's a
It's just
daywalker.
Blade.
Yeah.
If there were more than Blade, we could have that discussion. But there's never been a saga where there's more than just Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Blade has a
Morbius.
kid, and
No,
No.
Morbin time.
Morbius can't go into the sun. Blade
Yeah.
has a kid, and his kid
Can't
isn't
go
even
into
a
the box
vampire.
office either, so don't worry about it.
Shots fired.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hey, you shoot shots at Morbius, just know he's going down. Unlike every other Batman you know in life,
Mhm.
Batman and bats. Anyway,
Hey.
where were we? And we were talking about this thing.
He's in the hospital. They find out that he needs to drink blood, so she steals a whole bunch of bags of blood from her hospital and then brings him home because she's a nurse. And so she knows how to take care of him better.
Because plot.
Because plot.
You
know
know.
what's so funny about this is that she had just left him in the hospital. Everything would have been fine for her. And she probably wouldn't have lost her daughter.
Nope.
Because he would have died in front of everybody and they wouldn't have said she was a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
Or they would have kept giving him IVs and they would have kept sustaining him long enough for her not to be the blame.
Well, it only would have sustained him until they turn their head and he take the pack off.
Yeah, he would have killed the nurse and then
eventually he would have killed somebody.
Yeah, I could live with that. That would have been a better story.
So I was waiting for him to kill somebody.
Well, technically he did.
No.
He didn't.
He didn't even get the thrill of the chase.
I didn't say he got the chase. I said he got the kill.
He didn't get the thrill of the kill either. She was dying already.
So
give me a vampire. Give me a monster. He never became that.
Yeah, they're very particular about their blood too. So I don't know. I mean, I think we're giving
I
way
wouldn't
more.
have thought he wanted an old woman blood that's been drugged.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going with that. But I mean, I think we're giving too much consideration to the vampire lord. This movie doesn't give any consideration to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even it's only loosely
he got turned by a dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got turned by a dog.
He's not even a were-dog.
We don't even know how the dog got infected.
Nope. Just went out one night and then came back with vampire
cigarettes.
Right.
Look, went out for cigarettes and came back with that shit.
Yep.
Passing it on to the babies.
Mm-hmm.
Filthy.
Yeah. You sure you want them to come back? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens.
Dang. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the problem is that the thirst just keeps getting greater, and
so much so she has to bottle her own blood for him.
Right. Well, she tries to substitute this because she can't steal all of the blood from the hospital, so she tries to sub it out for animal blood, which, if you're following Vampire lore, would work. But this is a special type of vampire. And he goes into anaphylaxis after he drinks the bunny blood.
And
so now you got it.
It seemed like it was like the second.
It took a minute. Yeah, it took a minute, but his body
rejected.
There was
just enough nutrients in it, but it wasn't enough to keep him going.
Oh yeah, but he had a toxic shock response too. So he's not he can't just like he can't eat food. He can't have animal blood for some reason.
He could snack on animal blood, but he can't live on it.
Maybe. We never know because they tried the bunny thing and he starts foaming at the mouth and they say, well, we got to just try something harder.
Right.
And the mom substitutes some of her blood off the tap, which is just gross. And it's also this really ham-fisted metaphor for the draining of life force that children do to women. They're literally sucking their essence out of their bodies until they're just a hollowed out, empty husk of depression and misery.
Christ, I didn't think of it that way.
I saw the same thing, Nick.
I mean, it slaps you over the head with it. So, yeah.
And how nobody else understood, including the father.
Because the father's unsympathetic, and yeah, of course.
He didn't. So one of the main tropes was a father's experience and a mother's experience are not the same.
Yes, and a mother is willing to give more than a father is.
Man.
Oh man, this movie got political real fast.
Where you been?
Yeah, it got kind of preachy with its ideas just a little bit because I mean like it was a little bit over the top with this like her feeding him from her veins as she sits over him and and then he perks up and they embrace each
How
other and
strong he was after that?
it's like an Oedipus complex going on. I think maybe the writer has mommy issues. Um, I've always had this line. Some of these movies, it makes me feel like you're getting an inside glimpse to people's icky thoughts. So that's where I felt.
Especially certain movies where we have to watch people in feet.
Yeah,
Not that I
well,
have
that-
any
yeah.
problem with feet, but I'm talking about a specific person. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Yes, or blood, because blood tends to be a fetish thing too.
For some people, yeah.
Yeah.
I won't say anything.
You don't have to.
You plead the fifth there, sir.
So yeah, after he goes into shock, she puts him on the tap, aka her left arm. Which I thought was interesting. It was her left arm, not her right arm. Left arm's closer to the heart. All he got to do is get too excited and you dead.
Really?
I would assume so.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, hey,
possible.
There I go, doing too much work. Sorry.
Mm.
But anyway, he's back. He's booming. Jess starts to bottle her own blood for him, and he goes on a bowling date with Dad. And
Yay, Papa.
This is the first time we see her faint and black out. But then she wakes up like everything's fine, and next thing we know, she goes back to work to only find Miss Helen, who's back and tells her, "I've heard there are doctors and nurses who will help you at the end." And I'm like, oh.
Here we go.
Okay.
You got to move to Canada, lady. You have to move to Canada. Sorry.
Right? I'm saying here like she has a volunteer. Okay. Like
she does not have a volunteer.
She does not have a volunteer.
No.
So
yeah.
Jess is almost caught initially at this moment trying to bloodlet Helen. But at this point, she's also starting to black out from all of the blood loss. She almost burns the house down, et cetera, et cetera. And now she's ultra desperate. And Helen's checked into the ICU or the hospital. So now she's like, oh, it's her checkout day. Let me go help her out. Messy, sloppy, desperate.
Because Helen had overdosed the night before trying to kill herself because Helen has terminal thyroid cancer. And so she's been dealing with being sick for a very long time. And in a moment of desperation, she overdoses. And in the hospital, she says, I want to die. But she doesn't die. She lives. And then the next day is when the mom takes her home, drives her home. I'll give you a ride. Let me give you a ride. Nah, bitch, I'm good.
After one being seen with a wheelchair like she's an orderly and asking, hey, where'd Helen go? Ma'am.
You blew your cover.
Like 1,000%. Now you can't go through with any of this. But she does anyway because
you got probable cause.
Man, but somehow plot.
Yes.
Plot.
I don't even understand how that worked out.
So she kidnaps a dying woman who, on the way to being kidnapped, tells her, "Thank you so much for telling me it's always darkest for the dawn. I got really depressed there, but I woke up this morning and I saw carnations on my table, and I felt so much better about my life. And you know what? I want to live."
Right.
And this bitch is driving her over to her house to be put into a basement, tied up, and served as a blood bag to her stupid little son, who should have been dead a long time ago. This, for as dumb as this movie is, it does present an interesting concept with this utility monster that the son is. The idea that you would give up a person that is terminally ill in order to temporarily save another person. And then you have this valuation of life. Whose life is worth more, an old person or a child?
Right.
And then you get into this weird moral dilemma. They could have done that a little bit more, I think. But at this point, you just get this sense that she's a monster, like Helen calls her. Helen calls her a monster at some point.
You're a
and it's
monster.
just like, yeah, she is a monster. There's no ambiguousness to this. Like, you could claim that you're trying to save your son, but you know that he will literally have to kill a human every week at
the
least
rest
in
of his
order
life.
to survive for the rest of
I
his
was
life.
thinking
This
daily.
is temporary. No, but ma'am.
I was
I think
thinking
you
he
can
was
get
gonna
like
have to kill daily.
you can get 9 pints of blood out of a human. So if he drinks a pint a day, then maybe you're like about a
Week
week.
and a half.
Yeah, but he greedy, and he
He
only
is
a
greedy.
kid right now. If
He is
He's a
greedy and he's
growing
not
boy.
rationing.
Right.
Yeah,
if he
he's-
was actually gonna grow, he's gonna need full
Man,
humans.
his mom drained a whole Gatorade, a sports bottle full
Mhm.
of her blood, and he was
She should be
swigging
dead.
the whole thing in the car moments later.
Like,
Right.
oh, we got an endless supply of this.
Bruh.
Right. That's my point. Now you've made my point for me.
Well, I'll just say that he deserved to be, never mind. We'll
Yeah.
get there.
So yeah, she tries to feed Helen to keep her alive, but eventually, what really happens is Tyler sneaks into the basement and she figures out everything that's going on. She finds Miss Helen tied up and kidnapped, and just catches her like a real serial killer. And
Mhm.
then she explains everything to her calmly, and explains to her that Helen will have a peaceful death, and we're doing this to keep Owen alive, and it's necessary. She wants to help us.
Does that
Whoa.
technically make the daughter a monster too?
No,
she's a minor.
Makes the
She
daughter
can't-
a victim.
She can't consent to any of it.
yeah, it makes the daughter a victim.
Yeah.
This
Mm,
just is what it is.
okay.
She didn't choose for her mom to do any of that shit.
Mhm.
And the only reason she's okay with it is because she thinks her brother's going to die,
Right.
which he's going to die anyway.
He's gonna
so.
die either way, and eventually he's gonna die, and she's gonna make sure that it's her idea.
Mhm.
I also think she's afraid for her life. If you're willing to do this to this old lady, why won't you do it to me?
True. You already said that he's the favorite.
Mhm.
You don't like me as much. So if it
Mhm.
comes down to having to, give me up to your vampire son, you're probably going to do it.
Probably gonna
Damn.
give him.
Yeah.
And the fact that she had rationalized it, the mom had rationalized it in her brain to this new sickness that they just had to figure out. It's like, ma'am,
Bro, she only did that
vampirism-
because she got caught, though.
True.
The only reason she tries to give Helen a better experience is because her daughter caught her. And then
Yeah.
she's like, oh, we're not going to let her suffer. We're going to let her go peacefully.
Yeah, no,
Don't
she was
worry
about to-
about it.
She was about to let her Helen like a pig.
In the words of Canada, hey, you need a wheelchair ramp? Have you ever considered medically assisted suicide? I'll
Wow.
do that for you. I mean, like that gave me that
escalated
vibes.
quickly.
That gave me that vibes, and that's a real story, everybody.
No, I know. That escalated
Yeah.
quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
We can help it all.
Yeah.
Right. Jesus Christ.
But after
I
this,
feel like that was a
Tyler-
Monty Python skit.
I mean, it's
Felt like
close
one.
to one for sure. You know what it is though? It's the Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they're like, "Bring out your dead," and it's like, "I got one," and the old
I'm
man's
not
like,
dead
"I'm
yet."
not dead yet." He will be very soon. No, I feel
Very soon.
quite good. I'm getting better.
Dang. You just made me want to go watch some Monty Python.
Hell
Or
yeah.
at
Actually, I
least
think they did that
Look.
twice.
Maybe they might have bring out your dead might have been a
Right,
a double-
and
I
believe
think it's
they
been
did another
reused a
skit
couple times.
where the husband was convinced to commit suicide,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then they convinced the wife to do it.
I mean, Monty
Damn.
Python's been reworked by a lot of different
Yeah.
people. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, Cheech and Chong reworked a lot of the Monty Python shit. People
Really?
don't realize it, but they did.
Hmm.
They turned it into weed jokes.
Mhm.
We could talk about that another day. If you like, for real, if you
Right.
don't know, we could really talk about that a different day. But yeah, so
Gen Z's minds explode.
Tyler and Owen, they're friends again. They're brother and sister. Everything's fine. They're playing video games. And when they're at the lake with Dad and fishing, Dad's new wife cuts her finger, and Tyler sees Owen kind of having a moment, but he controls himself. So in her mind, she's like, "Cool, he can do it. He can control himself." And for the rest of the movie, we see no, he can't, and
Mm-mm.
he's not trying to.
No.
Like, he wasn't trying to in that moment. He just wasn't that hungry yet.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Kirsten Dunst's character in Interview with the Vampire.
Mhm.
You know, the little girl when she gets
Yeah.
turned and then all she wants to do is murder incessantly. And they have
This
to
is
be
why we
like,
don't Turn him so young.
Yeah, exactly. Because she had like a whole family that she stuffed in her toy box or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Possessions.
Yep.
Yeah, that probably was the best part of that whole movie, though, is breaking down the kid part of it. Like, hey, you don't.
Mhm.
This is why we don't do this to kids,
Right.
but to a 14-year-old boy. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
Ew.
Smirking in Vampire Lestat. There you go.
Yeah. If you don't know the movie, you got to go watch it. You're too young. Um. So yeah, at this point, Helen is now giving just all the confirmation that she understands, even though she's not a mom, she is a good mom and she's doing this for all the right reasons. Then she jibbing jabs her in the arm,
I'm
stabs her.
so glad she did that because I thought she was giving her absolution for a second. I was like, do
Was.
not give her absolution,
I'm
man.
just glad it was false, but she definitely
Yes.
was. I wrote it in my notes. I was like, she's giving her confirmation that she's a good person. What am I watching? And then
Yeah.
I
she
was
stabbed
like,
her, and I
I
just
don't
crossed
believe
that out.
this.
As soon as
Yeah,
she
I
stabbed
was.
her, I just put a line through it.
Right.
Yeah. Although she stabbed her in a dumb place. She gets her right in the bicep. And it's like,
I
all
think
right, well,
I think
I
that's
would
the
have aimed
only
for the
place
neck
she
or
could
the
have
ear.
made contact.
in between the rib cage.
I think with the low energy Helen should have had, because she
She
had way
didn't
too much
have,
energy.
yeah. She didn't
Um,
have any energy.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was the only place she could have gotten her.
Probably, yeah. I mean, she tried, but then she got smacked over the head with a pot.
Well, she does escape on her own, and the police hear her. Or excuse
No,
me,
they
the
don't.
police come, and she does end up screaming, but the police don't hear her even after she's gotten beaten over the head. Um, and then a little bit later, she actually does escape either way, runs out into the open, into the clearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Ugh.
And
too
here
bad
comes
she
that
escaped.
barbed wire again.
Because she just tripped and fall. Yeah, barbed wire scene number 2. That barbed wire got a nice extras check for them 2 scenes it was in.
I mean, technically, it's the most important character in the movie.
1000%.
Right.
Yeah. So
Because of
there
the
you go.
barbed wire, the dog gets away, and because of the
Mhm.
barbed wire, Helen doesn't,
Yep. And Owen goes full vampire now.
or whatever that is, because vampires don't have whatever that thing was in his mouth.
I mean, and it's in the middle of the daytime too, so who knows? I mean,
Yeah, so I think that's why it could be considered an infection.
could be
You
like
know
the
what?
strain, a little bit.
I was definitely thinking about maybe it's more of a strain type of virus, which is definitely vampiric, but not a vampire.
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe we were looking at this the wrong way until just now.
I mean, they did say it was a virus over and over again, so I guess that's what they were
They
going
wanted
for.
something different, yeah.
It just
So
sucks
maybe he
because
was
he
a
didn't get any
zombie?
of the cool vampire powers.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Are we sure he wasn't a zombie then?
Kind of. He kind of was. I mean, it's just he wasn't into brains. It was the blood.
Yeah, he's not like Alucard, Dracula's kid. So yeah, I guess he would be more of a Resident Evil zombie almost. Yeah.
Okay.
Except the one changing factor is his food source is blood specifically. Nobody makes him Oh, I like when he was chasing down Tyler and she kicked him in the face, and then he looked up and he was bleeding, and he had that same look Ben Stiller had when he said, "Nobody makes me bleed my own blood." Nobody.
Yes. Globogen. Yeah. Well, yeah, so he turns full vampire now.
Yeah, now he's officially no longer a human.
Right.
And now Tyler has gone back to the tree looking for a way to kill whatever it is that's hurt her brother.
Well, you kind of glossed over the fact that she loses custody of her children.
Oh, no, that happens right after so this is the first time she comes back from the tree when she's trying to tell mom what's going on. That's when CPS and dad show up to take the kids. And,
okay. I got the chronology a little off.
They kind of just gloss over the fact that he ate that chick, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's just like cuts to the next day, right?
Yeah. They go out and Jess goes out and buries her wherever. Apparently she's never found. Let's make that clear. Helen's never found. But yeah, she goes out and buries Helen. We don't know how much of he actually ate. Did he just bleed her dry? Did he eat the meat?
He was dribbling a lot when he was
Yeah,
drinking. He was wasting a
wasteful,
lot of blood.
super wasteful.
Rookie move.
It's like, hey,
Yeah.
next time you go get some fresh, you better store that in your cheeks like a cow.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a squirrel.
Hey, squirrels lose 80% of their nuts. Don't do anything like a squirrel.
Wah,
Pause.
They're responsible for planting trees, though. It's nice.
There's some active little bastards there. I just
Mhm.
thought about that. You're right.
All the nuts that they don't find just turn into
Right in
trees.
the trees. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the forest would be empty without a squirrel.
Hmm.
So they go back to the tree and Tyler wants to burn it. However, Owen ain't feeling that, but he's also at his breaking point. He hungry and he don't see his sister no more. Now he see food. But something I note.
This
and
is
it
like
was
8
fire.
hours after he eats a woman. This is unsustainable. Even Dracula can go long bouts of time without feeding.
If Dracula were
why I
to
was
eat a
saying what I
full
was saying.
human,
Yeah,
if Dracula were to bleed a full human, he's good for about 3-4 days, I think.
at least I would think. Yeah.
He could go into the sun. He could paint some pictures, make a bitch a sonnet. All that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you think of like True Blood lore, they had one of those vampires encased in concrete for like 80 years.
Mhm.
And
Well, that was their jail sentences.
yeah, but they're fine. They don't have to eat. They don't have to feed for 80 years.
Yeah, they just come out all messed up and
Weak.
old looking, I guess.
Yeah.
So he tries to kill his sister. She hurts him. He gets down. Mom gets there, gets him off of her, and ends up.
Without dad.
Yeah, without that, he never shows up. Even though they're
She
both looking.
leaves him in the house when she could have said, "Hey, come with
Oh
me."
yeah. Here's my question: why the hell is it okay for him to just bust in and walk around her house?
That isn't okay because it isn't his property.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Well, because plot.
yeah, because
He'll
plot,
blame
and he
us.
thinks she's a junkie, so
Right.
screw her. Yeah,
Because
Oh, yeah,
technically,
you know,
him being the
she's a
ex-husband,
junkie.
he definitely can't do that, especially in the middle of a custody battle.
Oh, yeah, that's what
Mhm.
I
Frowned
say.
upon.
Look, no, well, she's a junkie, so screw her rights.
kind of.
Is
That's
that-
the way
It's
he's
safe.
feeling about it. Yeah,
Right.
he assumes that they went back to the house when they didn't.
Not at all. And when she's telling you, and clearly just as concerned as you,
And you don't believe her, and then she leaves to go to the tree, but she doesn't bring him.
and
If
that's
he had
what that
just
was.
been there,
he just would have freaked out. He wouldn't have understood what was going on.
but at least then she wouldn't have been pinned for the murder of her child.
Nah, I think if he was there, he would end up getting killed by his child or Tyler.
Man,
That's what I was hoping
That little
for.
fuck, I would have beaten the shit out of him. He was not strong.
I agree.
That-
So yeah,
the
that's what I was
point
thinking.
is,
He didn't get no kind of vampire strength or nothing.
Nothing.
nothing,
Just drink blood and walk around in daylight.
and be a jerk.
Mm-hmm. And get sick
That's-
within
That
hours.
shit from your mom's.
Yeah. This is all the downsides of vampirism and none of the upsides.
Sounds like the AIDS of vampirism.
It kind of is. It's like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I bet if the father had been there at the tree, then I think her position would have been a lot better. But as it stands now, she just looks like she murdered her son
Yeah.
because she did.
And right, because she did. And everybody knows it, but they can't prove it, so the state's gonna call it an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Because he drowned in water that wasn't there.
Mud. I think they claimed that he got stuck in the mud and then sunk and drowned.
Oh, so they know that it's supernatural.
No, it's just that area around the tree is quicksand.
Yeah.
Or it's a mud pit. So
Mud
if
pit,
a
yeah.
kid can get stuck in that and then it can't get a way out of it, you could technically sink down to the bottom of it and drown. Yeah.
We had to do a lot of work for that one, huh?
Yes, you have to do a lot of work for that one, and it's easier to have your mother just push you down into the mud until you slowly suffocate on dirt.
Yeah, she didn't even
Yeah.
push him by the face. She pushed him by the shoulders.
You know what? And it gave me that. Shh, don't say anything. Just let it happen. Just go to sleep. Like, what is happening here?
So soft, so easy. Just let go.
Jeez.
Yeah, that is creepy. I mean, and completely unbelievable as well. Sorry if she's suspect number one.
Yeah.
Right.
And well, the state might drop the charges, but the dad's pursuing negligence and possible Munchausen syndrome, which indicates she possibly kept him sick on purpose.
But he's a douche canoe too.
Agreed. But at this point, he's not wrong. She didn't keep him sick, but I mean, hey, bring somebody else in on this supernatural bullshit going on under your roof.
And she was so unbothered by that too. She was like, "Yeah, I know what Munchausen's is. When can I see my daughter?" I'm like, "Bitch, do you understand this position that you're in?"
And the only two people to tell her she was a good person in this entire movie are the lady she was trying to kill to feed her son and the daughter that helped her kill her son.
Mm-hmm.
You did the right thing. Now I'm your favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And I only have to see you for 30 minutes every month.
That's right.
So
Dad got legal custody.
Yeah. And she has a new sibling, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, so she's fine.
She's fine.
She could.
I was kind of hoping that he would eat the baby.
Oh, he was trying.
That was coming. Yeah.
I kind of was hoping it would happen, because it just would have put another layer of something for the movie.
I mean, I would have liked for him to have,
the father has to be completely oblivious to anything that's going on, so nothing can indicate anything wrong while the father is present. This is what they do for all horror movies, by the way. Like the father always has to be not in the picture because
because daddies don't go for that.
They have to be oblivious to it all in order for it to work. Yeah.
I don't know. Papa don't play that. You can't do that on Daddy Watch.
Hell no.
Either that or they're in on it the whole time, which is another trope.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I need my children to be strong like me. In Wallachia, we take children back. No, I'm playing.
The Prince of Wallachia.
I like it. Better story than what we just got.
Yeah, Nick Cage really loved that role too, by the way. Oh, really? Man. He was in Renfield. He was eating it up. It was hilarious.
I think that's probably been the best movie he's done in a long time.
It's a pretty good movie, yeah. He even does a little Ric Flair woo in it too, which is kind of funny.
Oh, wait. He hasn't done a Ric Flair woo since Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yep, he does it in Renfield. So there you go.
Nice. That means he's back.
He is back.
Maybe he'll get some better roles now.
Jess burns the tree down, and everything is golden. Everything is over because she bathes in the warmth of the fire. Afterwards, halfway through, the first batch of credits.
There was a mid-credit scene?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Yeah. You didn't watch it.
You didn't.
I didn't realize.
Okay.
She has a new dog, and that dog is named Jericho. And she's throwing Jericho the ball, and her and Jericho are playing. And Jericho goes after, and he's a bouncy little thing, and he goes after the ball, and then the ball bounces into the forest, and he stops, and he gets scared, and he's just looking into the forest, and it looks like the hair on Jericho is raising. And next thing you know, Jess is looking, and she's like, "What's wrong, Jericho?" And she's staring into the oblivion. And then the credits start rolling.
Are they still at that house?
Yes.
Why? Sell the house. You said you were going to buy a condo in 6 months. Why aren't you in the condo?
Because plot for 2.
Oh my God. Don't make another one of these. Blood 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric
Boogaloo. Hey, don't disrespect Breaking.
Electric
Don't disrespect Ozone.
Hey, Turbo and Ozone definitely gave me more excitement than this movie.
Right.
Hey.
Oh man.
Oh.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Oh, that movie. This movie sucked.
Yeah, I don't know where
y'all made it worse for me.
Good.
Hey, I think I liked it better than both of you guys, according to the commentary.
Did. Yeah.
I liked it at first, somewhat.
We ruined that.
Now. Yeah, it's even more snacks than it was before.
Snap. Yeah, all right. So
that's how the show goes. We either convince you it's good or convince you it's awful.
Yeah. Right.
Telling the truth. That's what you need to know.
Mhm.
Man, a little dose of truth never hurt nobody. Well, it hurts everybody. That's not true.
Truth is
Definitely hurts
painful.
everybody. It is.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here like, no, it could hurt everybody involved. You
Right.
find out real fast. People start thinking they made good movies and get contracts they don't deserve. It could hurt a lot of people.
Now, you didn't make nothing.
You know what I mean?
You didn't do nothing.
It wasn't you. So,
Mm-mm.
final thoughts, takes, things they could have done better. We already know they could have done this movie better in
We already
general.
went over all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, any final thoughts or
Oh,
mentions?
we didn't get Nick's take on the cameras, the angles, the lighting, the
I was
sound.
going to mention that there are some
I had
cinematography elements that are pretty decent. I think the opening first sequence of shots is pretty interesting. They kind of let go of the cinematography in the middle of it because they are too stuck on the story. I don't know. I think that the tree is pretty iconic. The direction isn't terrible. It's just that the story is, I think, lacking in
Right.
pacing. The pacing is just not.
Oh my
It's
God.
not there. It's a build up for a lot of nothing, and then an ending that has you sort of like, why did any of this happen in the first place?
Right.
Why am I here?
Why am I here? Why did I watch this? Who am I? I don't know. To quote Zoolander. Yeah. Anything else, you guys?
Oh, why are you quoting Zoolander? That's funny as hell. Because I really
Because
you said
Zoolander's
it.
hilarious.
You said it, and I'm like, oh, I actually remember that scene. Who am I?
I don't know.
It can't turn left, Matilda.
What?
Yeah, he couldn't turn
Oh
left.
my God.
Yeah.
I know.
Zoolander is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Snacks.
No, it's not Snacks. Actually, I walked out
no,
of
it's
it
one of the
first
greatest
when I
movies
first
ever.
saw it, but it's actually really hilarious.
It's one of the greatest movies that you'll watch twice and be like, all right, I understand why I watched this twice. The first time I didn't get it.
Hmm.
The first time you probably won't get it.
I
And
get it. I just
Will,
think it's snacks because it's so funny. It's
Will,
ridiculoly
Will
snacks.
Ferrell Will Ferrell kind of sells the movie.
Yes, Mugatu.
Mm.
That Hansel's so hot right now. That movie's so
Oh,
quotable. It's hilarious.
I will forever say Will Ferrell and Leonardo DiCaprio are two of the biggest under the radars that people just don't know.
Who?
Will
Yeah, I've
Ferrell
never
and
heard of
Leonardo
them.
DiCaprio.
Leonardo who what now?
Exactly.
Was he in that movie?
No.
Oh.
And when
Wasn't
I
he a
say
Ninja
under the
Turtle?
radar, I don't mean fame wise. I'll explain later. I'll let
Wasn't he
them
a
do
Oh.
their
Ninja Turtle?
homework.
No.
No, I don't think he's a
Ah.
Ninja Turtle. I'll let the audience do their homework, but I'll explain it to you guys offline.
Fair enough.
All right.
Ratings,
Right.
guys.
With
Ratings.
that
All
being
right.
said, to our breakdown of the movie Blood.
Not There Will Be Blood.
No,
Just blood.
I drink their milkshake. I drink it up.
Give
Drink
me
it
the
up.
blood. I'm an oil man.
Right.
With that
You did that
score.
too good. You did that too well, sir.
Tell them what we call that, Nick.
What's that?
Drainage.
Oh yeah. God, I love how much Daniel Day-Lewis hated that dude in that movie. He hated him.
So much. The
Paul
preacher.
Dano was afraid of Daniel Day-Lewis in that movie because he hated him so much. Yeah.
Like it was almost real hate.
Yes, and it did come out that way because he really beat the shit out of him in that mud pit.
Hey, some of the best movies, man. Somebody go off script, you don't even understand why they're so intense. But when it translates, it translates.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Quick story that we get into ratings. I heard of a movie where a guy. I'm not gonna say the names and nothing. If you know the movie, you know the movie. But in a movie, really good movie that I enjoy from back in the day, gangster flick. A guy pulls a guy out of a car, like pulls him through the window, smacking and beating on him, like for real, beating his ass. And he wasn't like this was not in the script at all. And I want to say the director was John Singleton, and he
Mhm.
just let it keep going.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sometimes when you
see
got
it
a shot, you got a shot, man.
yeah,
You
like the
gotta let
dude
it go.
running away, running down the street in his drawers, all of that was total ad lib, total forced, but it happened for real. And when you see it on camera, it's probably one of the best shot scenes of the entire movie.
Yeah, some of the most iconic movie scenes are improv or
hmm
unexpected,
hmm
not
Same
in the
thing with
script.
Ray Allen having to bust Denzel Washington's ass, and he got game because Denzel thought he was about to play ball against Ray Allen for real, get your ass busted.
He's probably
Anyway,
talking mad shit too.
man, look,
No.
that story's out there. That
Yeah.
story is actually out there. Spike Lee tells that story, so I don't
Mm.
want to take his flame. But go and look up the story of Denzel and Ray Allen on the set of He Got Game. That's a crazy story.
Mhm.
You mean Jesus Shuttlesworth?
Shit. Hey, Jesus! Oh, hey, Jesus!
Hey, why did somebody tell a chick that was a real name and they Googled it thinking he was really in the NBA and he got some cheeks for it?
Because Jesus Shuttlesworth is really in the NBA. His name is just Ray Allen.
Right, but but the chick looked. He dude used it as the name he gave this chick. She looked it up, and he got some cheeks because she thought he was really in the NBA, and he just gave that name.
Hey, society will do you one good, and that's back in the day
Mhm.
before social media. So hey,
No, this was recently.
what?
Yeah, this was recent. At least that's the recent when the story came out because she told it.
Oh shit! All right,
People tell too
yeah,
much on these podcasts. I tell you.
Mm,
they do.
yeah.
They do. We
All right,
might
ratings.
exactly. Nigga. Get us back on board.
We got to
Shoot.
get to ratings.
Let's see what we think about this movie, Blood.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do first. Numbers, spin them. I hated this movie. No, I didn't. I did not hate this movie, but I definitely can't see me watching this twice. The Ski Ulrich, Megan Monaghan.
Monaghan.
I see their name. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. I saw their names and I initially thought like, oh man, okay, this should be pretty decent. Not sure why I thought that, honestly.
Because they're okay actors. They're not bad.
They are okay actors, like legitimately. I saw them together and I was like, they could really do justice for whatever they're throwing at me. But it didn't pan out. I'm not sure why. I don't even want to speculate as to why anymore. Watch this episode again if you want to find tidbits as to why I might think that. But overall, it just didn't pan out. Something's missing. And it was long. I'm sure they don't think this was that long, but this was long. And there was no point. There's absolutely no point. Temperature wise, some of the shots, it was dark. All of the action is dark. I'm really getting tired of this. No movie has bright action anymore. We don't get to see any interaction. We don't see connection. We don't see bites. We don't see blood actually being formed. These are things that isn't there a special effects department for a reason?
It's cheaper to do it all in the dark.
Ever since
It doesn't
the
look
end
good,
of
though.
Game of Thrones.
That's pretty much it. That it really is it. Ever since the long night in Game of Thrones, they've been doing this like, oh, we could just make everything too dark to see. And then they can't complain about the crappy CGI.
Bullshit. We gonna complain either way.
Mhm.
I'd rather, and you know what? I'm at that point. I'd rather them go back to the 80s. Let's do like Jaws. Give me some animatronics, damn it.
Yeah,
That's
go
why
back to the
Cocaine Bear was
practical.
good.
Yeah, go back to practical effects
Hey.
as much as you can.
Hey, Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal was good.
I heard that Oppenheimer has 0 CGI in it.
Good.
That's what Nolan was saying.
Real
0 CGI.
explosions.
Yes.
That might actually be worth watching. Like honestly, there are movies like the movie. I don't even know if we didn't cover that actually. I don't think Cocaine Bear.
Mm-mm.
Cocaine Bear. They used animatronics.
Yeah.
It made a world of a difference. Now some of it was CGI, but
you swap it in and out. Yeah.
Right. And the difference made it made it more real. The reality is CGI isn't real. Animatronics is still real. Even if it's a machine, It's a
It's the
real
tangible thing.
physical, right, tangible thing. And when that's captured next to something else that's already in the third dimension, I'm speaking in different terms, I'm sorry. When that's captured against something that's sitting right next to it that can touch it and interact with it, it makes a world of a difference. Then
Jurassic
somebody reacting with
Jurassic Park is
tennis
almost
balls
30 years old and it
because
still looks good. And
they're
it's
not just
because
looking at tennis balls.
right. Well, until the new ones. I'm talking about the first
That's true.
Jurassic Park. Yeah.
That's true. Chris Pratt, I don't think had to deal with real animatronics, but
No.
back in the day.
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean for my tangent to be that long, but that's really like I'm tired of this dark shit. I'm tired of not
Mhm.
seeing action. And I'm tired of half-ass fleshed out points. I'm at a point with these movies, and I mean every movie, I don't care who makes it. I'd rather them go so heavy on the point that I'm over the point.
Mm.
Because we
You know,
haven't gotten that in a while.
I agree.
Oh,
You know what's funny about that? I think what a lot of people try to do, and here, let me speak for all of Hollywood when I say this because I know what I'm talking about. No, but what I think might be happening is that they want to add all of these elements into a story, but if they did what you're saying, Keelan, and just focus on one thing, what they would find is that when you zoom into that one thing, it contains all of the other things that you wanted to talk about. And you didn't need to go to all of these other different directions. You could have just dove into one thing and it would have translated to all the other things that you wanted to tie into.
Right.
Stop making sense.
A perfect movie. I tell people if you ever want to watch a movie that will give you like almost every element through one medium, go watch Hancock. Every element for a successful movie is literally rooted in the notion of him being a homeless superhero. That's it. Everything else
I thought he
follows
had a
that.
place.
No, not initially, not at the beginning of the movie. They get him a place,
I thought he lived
but
in
he's a homeless
trailer
superhero.
when he
No.
was messing with the girl. Never mind. Okay.
The initial concept is he's a homeless superhero, he's a drunkard, he's a wino, he needs some level of stability, and all of that is growth through him becoming a better hero. And then of course we find out he's an angel, etc., etc.
Yeah,
But
you
all
got to
of the
start at one spot and then
right,
see where the story takes you.
right.
Right.
It literally they follow a path, and they almost jump off a couple of cliffs, but even those cliffs had something on the other side of it. That is, in my opinion, how you make a movie. You have to risk failure. They're afraid to risk failure with a lot of these writings nowadays,
And that's
um,
why they fail.
and that's why they fail. That's why they fail. You can't succeed without risk.
Yeah, and you
It
do
was
have to take some creative risks sometimes.
right.
And I think that the problem is that I think they might be taking risks, but you don't have visionaries anymore. I think what happens is a lot of this stuff is now just created by a committee. You look at the Marvel franchise, and it was Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau, and then once they started adding more people into the mix, Marvel got shit. Yeah. So, and Hollywood has always been about those visionary people, Spielberg, Kubrick, like Spike Lee. All of these people are visionaries, and they have their idea about what they want, and they don't budge that. It doesn't matter what the studio says. It doesn't matter what the studio wants. I'm going to make my art, and you're going to like it or not, and that's it. And
Would
now
you
I think it's
include Nolan in that.
Nolan wants to be there. I think that he does a pretty good job, but he's not in the vaulted annals of cinema like the other people I mentioned. I don't think. Not yet. Not yet. I don't think he's made his masterpiece yet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is like, I feel like he is on that same trajectory. But I think he gets stifled more than he's allowed to actually do what he's trying to do.
He gets lost in his I think his downside is his writing sometimes, because they look at a movie like Tenet should have been way better than it was. Unfortunately, there was a lot of problems with the audio mixing, and then the story was a bit convoluted, and he likes to get really convoluted with his stories, and sometimes it works and then sometimes it doesn't. So
I'm trying to find out what happened, and then I know we need to get to numbers, but whatever happened to people understanding what their strong points were. everybody. Oh, wow, I have to say that.
Because when you have 10 people in the writing room, everybody has a strong point. So you got to add everybody's strong point.
Right? No, no, no. Absolutely, I understand exactly what door I opened with that. What my follow up was to it, and I had to stop myself from saying it, but I have to say it. Everybody's not Bill Cosby and Fat Albert. You can't write it, draw it, do the cartooning, do the coloring, do the publishing, you can't. Everybody can't do everything,
Mhm.
right? With that being the case, what happened to people looking back at the templates of realizing that you had 2 and 3 directors working on one film, but only one person's name was on it because that's how committee works. Because that's what it takes to really make good product. It wasn't
Yeah.
what everybody wants to make Mary Poppins again.
They did. They
I
already
hope
did.
not. Oh,
They made
really?
it. Yeah, they made it with
They did.
Emily Blunt.
Right.
Ugh.
But I think Nick understands what I'm getting at there is Mary Poppins was a damn one-off.
Yes.
Musicals was not a thing.
Yeah. What
And
are you going
then-
to get? You can't get Dick Van Dyke back. He's 95 years old. What are you going to do?
But they're trying to recreate magic out of nowhere. Like it's already happened. Now just run with what it's there. You know what to do. You
Well,
can't
it's-
create
it's-
nothing new. Just make the
Yeah.
shit that's there work.
It's like catching lightning in the same spot, twice. That's the thing, right? It's like, oh, this one was a hit, so if we do it again, it should be a hit. And obviously there's a law of diminishing returns there. Sometimes it is, but then there's fatigue with that stuff. And I just, again, I don't know, like, okay, so it's been a year, more than a year. Have we seen a movie that's better than Everything Everywhere All at Once yet?
No.
No.
Yeah. What the hell's
I
going on?
I've even heard a concept that's better. Only recently that I hear a movie that I wanted to see just as much.
What movie
We
was
already
that?
watched Project Legion.
We Are Freedom.
A masterpiece.
Right.
The Citizen
We Are-
Kane of our era.
We Are Freedom. That's the only thing I've had the same level of
Okay,
angst
gotcha.
to go watch.
Yeah.
I heard of that one.
I
The
do
message.
hope that smaller stuff gets pushed out more. The problem is that a lot of the smaller stuff is going on to these streaming services, but that's what we're reviewing here. Is most of this is small stuff, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of passion. Maybe that's what it's missing. Like you could tell with Everything Everywhere All at Once that the creators were passionate about that movie. I don't.
Sound of Freedom. Sorry.
Oh yeah, right. But I don't feel a lot of passion from most of these streaming movies that we review. Doesn't
No.
feel like anybody gives a shit about them.
They're
Like
not
so,
passionate, but no, yeah.
yeah, and so like it translates as an audience member. It's like, oh, I can feel that the people made this didn't really give a shit. So why should I?
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, they don't have to because they already got paid.
True, that's true. I want to get paid. You pay me to
Yeah.
watch this. I will care. I will care very
Some
much so.
YouTube curating. We could do the
care.
Hey,
Hulu
movie studios. Hey, Hollywood,
Yeah.
we are up for purchase.
That's
If you
right.
want us to raise your numbers,
Right.
just
Put us
buy
on
us
one of your
out.
platforms. Buy us out. We'll sit there and tell people how great your movies are.
Yes. Yeah, we're not above selling out. We got people to take care of in our lives.
So
So
far above selling out.
Man.
Look, this is selling out. This is how far above I am.
yeah.
All right. I had a few more things I wanted to address as far as this movie and different things that are irritating me about movies, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get into our ratings.
Right.
I am going to rate Beef. Oh, my bad. No, this isn't Beef. Beef, we already did.
Blood.
Sorry.
Beef was
That
pretty good.
Beef was good, which is why I went back to it because I'd rather be watching that. When is season 2 coming out? I'm going to rate this movie. I don't think so either. I think it's going to get dropped. Maybe we'll get another Ali Wong special or 2 or 3 Ali Wong specials on Netflix. Those are amazing. Ratings for Blood. So the movie Blood, I am gonna have to rate it a 3. I'm rating it a 3 because it's better than the last 2 we watched. It still is disappointing as far as what I expected, and I mean, hey, disappointment can go far. I can give this a 1 off the level of disappointment, but they did try. The only people that didn't try are the people who wrote it, in my opinion. So yeah,
Fair enough.
it's a 3 for me.
Mike, what about you, man?
I'm on the same page. I'm gonna give it about a 3. I thought the acting was fine. I just thought there was absolutely no real story there. They didn't. They really didn't try. I thought the characters were terrible, so the story wasn't good. I mean, there was nothing really supernatural about it, except that he had a super rare unknown herpes or whatever it was that messed him up real bad. And then we get nothing. We just get nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the mom's, she wasn't really. The acting was good, so 3. I'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough. Yeah. We do not coordinate our ratings beforehand. We don't even tell each other the ratings beforehand, but I had 3 written down as well. So we are all on the same page with this one. It is definitely a 3. It's not as bad as the last ones we watched. There's something here that could be good. The sort of commentary about the Oedipal mother and sort of like this need to indulge your child's every whim to the point that it destroys everything around them and then themselves eventually. That's very archetypical. It's a very old story. So, I could see that they were trying to nod at something, but I just don't think the execution was all there. There was a little bit of horror in the fact that you couldn't believe that this person was doing the things that they were doing in service of feeding their son. So I guess that's horror. I don't really consider it horror. I consider it more of like, I don't know, like Keelan said, a little bit more like slasher gore without the gore. You like putting you in a really like situation where you don't feel good and you don't want, like, it just makes you feel miserable. It definitely did that. So that's okay. The music design was okay. The cinematography wasn't awful. There were some dark scenes that were covering up CGI, and that's always a sin in my book as well. So yeah, it's a 3. There's a kernel of something here that could have been decent, but it just wasn't this movie. So
I think they either had to not tiptoe certain lines if they wanted to make this better, or simply cross those lines, obliterate people's expectations, and offend. And because they didn't want to offend directly, this movie suffered.
Yeah. Again, with the they didn't do a well enough job about leaving the actions of the mother as morally ambiguous. She was very clearly a terrible person, and I just don't know if you're not doing anything for me if I just know that that's just a bad person doing a bad thing. It's not like a mother, stealing a loaf of bread to feed her family. It's a mother kidnapping a dying cancer patient and then draining her of her blood to feed her family.
Which seemingly would have given her vampiric son cancer.
Or all of the dope that she was putting into her blood system.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not
that part makes sense to me. That was probably one of the biggest irritations for me.
So there's a lot less moral ambiguity here than the movie wants you to think there is, and I think it suffers from that because
Wait, you dropped out, Nick.
Whoa.
Oh no. Well, I think we are having a bit of a technical difficulty on Nick's end. It's all right. But yeah, no, absolutely. It's just one of those things. No matter how hard they try, there is no good to find in the mom. I think that's where Nick is going there with that. But they do try. They try and try again, and do not, under any circumstance, start singing an Aaliyah song. We appreciate you guys for hanging out here on the Screen Time Continuum. It looks like we are not having any good difficulties. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Click like, share, subscribe, hang out, tell your friends. And don't forget to, of course, check out the other shows that we have when you go ahead